how's it going? Welcome back. So today we're going to be doing something motorcycles. Hey, welcome back. So today we're going to be doing something a little different. I have a few odds and ends I need to button up on my 2000 RS. So I figured I'd introduce that car and we just dig right into some of the things that need done. So let's go ahead and get this thing into the garage and get started on it right away. Some of you may have actually already seen this car on the PFI Speed channel. Link right there to that video. And then again, Dan actually came out just recently and interviewed me about the car, and I showed some stuff. One of the things I showed actually was over the winter, I went ahead and pulled the 4-cylinder out of this thing and did a 6-cylinder swap. It wasn't all that hard. It is quite a bit of work. Definitely need to have a plan of attack as well as the ability to cut and weld and modify and do some wiring and stuff like that. I do have a few little things to button up on this. One of the things I need to do right away is pull codes. It actually has a check engine light, so we need to see what's going on there. I expect there's probably a couple sensors that the ECU is looking for that this car simply doesn't have. So need to look into that. Also need to figure out what's going on with the power steering. The power steering pump is whining. I believe it's this suction hose. This thing is just hard as a rock. This came off of a car at the junkyard when I went and got all the power steering parts for this build. So I have a brand new hose, and I know that that's wrong or bad, I should say. So I'm going to go ahead and start there and replace that first. So let's get that done, and then we'll pull codes and see what's going on. All right, new suction hose is on, so let's start the car and see if the fluid level goes down. Then we'll top it back up, and I'm going to bleed the air out of the system really quick. So yeah, that's great. It's actually not making the noise that it was making anymore. And it looks like it's, I mean, we could run it here, but I'm gonna put a little bit more in there, and that's it, done with that. One of the codes it has for sure is for the rear O2. I actually have a brand new rear O2 sensor and the extension harness. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw that in. Once that's installed, we'll clear the codes in the ECU and then drive around the block and see what codes come back and tackle them one at a time. All right, so that is on there. It's not pretty. I actually didn't really pay attention to the fact that this went straight up and down when I installed the header. So I'm gonna need to get a 90-degree extension for this thing, get that out of the way, because this is definitely the lowest part of the car. It's gonna get hit on something eventually, and it's just gonna shove that sensor into the drive shaft, and then I'll be down here doing this again. But there's a lot of temporary going on down here because I actually need to finish making a mount for the header, and then I need to weld 2 catalytic converters in it as well. But this will do for now. I'm gonna clear the code and see if that sees that rear O2 sensor now. All right, so no codes. Yeah, let's take care of that little light. Let's go put gas in this thing. How about that? And the check engine light is already back. That's exciting. We're gonna go get gas anyways. The light pretty much came right back on the second I started moving. My guess is it's gonna be that 1446 code again. But we're gonna pull codes real quick here and see. So yeah, as expected, it's the 1446 again, and I think I have a fix for that. I'm gonna go ahead and dive into that next. I knew that there were gonna be some codes, so I went ahead and ordered something online. I'm guessing there's some sort of a solid state chip in here. You can kind of feel it. I really wanna cut the shrink wrap off of this, but anyways. It's got ground and power input, and then the rest of these inputs here, which are labeled. So you have tank sensor, fuel pump, or fuel temp, fuel level, tank pressure valve, tank vent drain valve, tank pressure solenoid, fan, relays 1 and 2, and then the check engine light output. Let's go ahead and dig into the ECU and get that pulled out, and then see if we can figure out which wires we need to send to this device. So yeah. All right, so with the ECU out, we can easily get to the connectors here. I went ahead and pulled a pinout diagram for the Outback ECU off the internet. And you can see there's 4 main engine connectors, and what we're actually looking for is connector B136 pin 7, and that's going to be the wire we're going to connect to that pin board. So you can see here, down. This is the 136 connector. The way Subaru does this is as if you're looking from the back of the connector, and you can tell that this is the right one because there's 2 pins and then a void, and then 5 pins. On the bottom there's 5 pins, a void, and then 3 pins. So you can see those line up between the 2 connectors. And then if you actually look on this harness, there's nothing in that number 7 slot because this car didn't need it. So there's just nothing installed there. So I'm gonna go dig through the wiring harness box and see if I can find an ECU plug pin with a little bit of wire on it, and then we can run it to the board. I'm just gonna jump everything in for now, just to kind of figure out if stuff works, proof of concept. So whenever you're doing a custom install that requires wiring, you always want to save whatever you have left over. I actually got these from a friend of mine that I race with. He gave me some parts when he finished his H6 swap. So fortunately, I have some of the ECU connectors and some of the plugs. Real quick, I wanted to show you too. It's funny, when I first started building modified cars, one of the things we had to do was get the pins out of the ECU so that we could put VTEC on stuff that didn't have VTEC, and auto to manual conversions, and just whatever else we were building at PFI. And Brent actually taught me an interesting way to get pins out of connectors. He would just smash them with a hammer. So we had so many ECUs back then, and wiring harnesses and cars and everything, that we just didn't care. We just didn't have to take our time to pull the pins out. So we would literally just take an ECU pin like this and just smash it with a hammer so that we could get all the pins and all the wiring out and use them for whatever we want. And obviously now everybody takes a bit more time because the cars are rarer, and that's just how we did it back then, and it worked fine actually. So, but I wanted to show you on the Subaru wiring harness, it's extremely easy. So on the Subaru harnesses, you just pull that out, and that just lifts up just a little bit and unlocks the pins. It's actually pretty rad. What a completely different way of doing it. All right, so we have the pin that we pulled from the other harness in 136 position 7 per the instructions from a random person on the internet. And to be fair, I actually know the random person on the internet, and I did find some corroboration to that pin and this problem with this car. So I don't know, we'll see if it works. Yeah, let's start the car, clear the code, start the car, see if the code went away. Okay. All right, so code cleared. Let's see if the check engine light comes back. Well, so far so good. This is so hard, there's no feedback. It's just a negative, so there's no light. So I would assume that that's doing its job, but there's nothing telling me that it's doing its job. There's just no light. Whatever, I'll take it. So I'm actually gonna take this around the block real quick, and we'll see if the light comes back. Well, that test drive went great. There's no check engine light. I would actually expect some more to pop up after I give it a more thorough test drive. So I'm not going to button this up completely for now, but I'm gonna tuck all this away and at least make it functional so someone else can ride in here and I can have the glove box again. So I couldn't help myself. I ended up attaching the pin board to the back of the Dakota Digital and then shortening the wiring up quite a bit, and then ran the wire along the loom just up here, and I'm just going to tuck everything up out of the way up underneath the dash. All right, so got everything buttoned up, interior's all put back together. I did start the car and the code's still not there, so fingers crossed all the codes are going to stay away and everything should be good to go. Definitely have a lot more test driving to do on this car. One thing I need to do before I start test driving the car is finish cutting the arches. I actually didn't cut enough out of these when I lifted the car, and it's damaged the tires a little bit. The other side's actually a lot worse than this side, but you can see where the tires have been rubbing on stuff quite a bit back in there. So that is next on the to-do list, is to flex the car out, see where the tires are hitting. So that is it for this episode. If you like what you saw this time with the silver car, please comment below and let me know that you'd like to see more of it. If you liked the video, give it a like. And as always, make sure you subscribe. And thank you for hanging out.